Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's coverage of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals for the running of the first annual Ben Nielsen 100-mile automobile race. My name is Blake McCandless. I'll be joined alongside by Justin Prince here in the broadcast booth, but not a whole lot of time for words, Justin. We are ready to get things rolling off here at Iowa, so let's go ahead and show you, the viewer, our starting lineup for tonight. Derek Justice, no shocker here, at a track that he loves, is able to sit on pole, 24.210 the time that Justice puts down. He will start alongside another former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series star in Michael Guest. Michael Cozy Jr. will start in third, Braden Buyos in fourth, Jacob Fisher will roll off in fifth, Jonathan Oates in sixth, Nathan Rabideau starts seventh, Brian Mercurio eighth, Michael Frisch ninth, and Alex Kolinick rounds out the top 10.
Patrick Vogel starts 11th with Malik Ray in 12th position tonight. Evan Rice will start in 13th with Gary Waterworth in 14th. Andrew Schwartz and Sean Butler start 15th and 16th. 17th and 18th go to Connor Horn and Justin Knobloch, with Ben Horst and Matthews Wack. Happy birthday, rounding out the top 20.
Yeah, this is presented by the Matthews Wack Birthday Bonanza, so happy birthday to him. 21st will be David Schildhouse, 22nd Lucas Plosel, Omar Diallo will roll off in 23rd, 24th to Roger Gregory, 25th Cosmin Yaneshu, 26th Kenny Brady, 27th Nate Stewart, 28th last week's winner in Brett Puncari, 29th Jack Painter, and Matt Spalding will round out the top 30.
31st goes to Matt Horden with Adam Sweet, Victor Valley, Rich Jamison 32nd to 34th with Richard Sprague Jr. in 35th. Ethan Corder 36th position, Tristan Hagenstein, Casey Nemitz, Kyle Lawrence Short, and Marcus Siasco round out the top 40.
And then Justin Malillo, Andy Margo, and Jake Poulin, as well as Ryan Naraki. There are 44 cars that will roll off of the grid in this one, and they will take the green flag, and Naraki is the last of them in 44th. Set for 115 laps around the Iowa Speedway. This .88-mile oval knows how to entertain with its progressive banking, and a lot of these drivers out here really look forward to a track like this. Pace car will pull to the safety of pit road as we get set to go green with Derek Justice leading the field. He elects to take the outside line as he comes to the start-finish line, and we are racing once again in the Grand National Series. Justice leads them all into turn one.
Nice clean start for him, as already several drivers trying to fan 2-3 wide out in the corners. And this is one of the best tracks on the iRacing service, in my opinion, because some drivers like to use the top line, some like to use the bottom, others the middle line. Most of the field migrating to the bottom at the beginning of the first lap.
And this is what you'll see for the opening laps. I imagine a lot of drivers will elect to favor that inside line. And for what we typically see here at Iowa, that middle line, it tends to be a little quicker, but it also tends to wear the tires a little bit more than that bottom line. You can see everybody right now really clapping for that single file line on the bottom, as you see, able to get up in line. They have gone single file for about the first 8 positions. Nathan Rabideau right behind. The 73 of Jonathan Oates running there on the bottom, and 93, when you're forced to use the top, it's not necessarily a slow line here. You still can try to make that work, as we see Malik Ray get inside that 93 Chevrolet.
Yeah, and when you get to the inside, it can be a bit difficult to pass here a little bit, since it's such a rhythm racetrack, especially with the bumps in 1 and 2. But if you can execute it well, you can make a lot of track position up. Ray's executing this very well, for example. You can see, especially on corner entry, and how he's been able to dial in the brakes to be able to get to that yellow line, make the move, and sometimes it can open up a conga line that's starting to form up a little bit.
It is, and even we can show you the amount of streamers that are running in this race, a whole host of them all over Twitch, obviously, as well as the broadcast. And oh no, maybe we won't. Let's show you the race. Here we got a nice 3-wide battle here. Malik Ray has ventured up to the middle of the racetrack. That 93 not so great on the takeoff, as Rabideau falling back, and he's got a side-by-side battle behind him with a couple of drivers that have moved forward a couple of positions. Alex Kolinick and Michael Frisch right now battling outside the top 10.
Yeah, first doing a decent job and trying to get that middle line working in particular, trying to get that to roll in. One of the main things when you are able to get to that middle is if you execute it well enough, you can pinch down and get a good run off the corner exit. And you mentioned it though, the tire wear is the big concern when you try and run up there fully, because you don't want to necessarily burn up your stuff here at this type of racetrack, because this is also one, Blake, that tends to have a lot of green flag runs and long runs on that note. Even though it's a shorter racetrack, it's one that just tends to be that direction because of the space that you can build up around here.
Exactly. You can be respectful of everybody here. When you talk about a short track, you're typically thinking of every driver clamoring for the bottom or the middle or whichever groove happens to be the best. You think about a Bristol Motor Speedway, you're likely fighting for the top of the racetrack. But here at the Iowa Speedway, one of the great benefits of this racetrack is that progressive banking. So if you happen to find yourself in a lane that you don't feel comfortable in, you can still make up that time and be pretty competitive. As Alex Kolnick's, man, he made a big dive outside the 93, nearly got into him off the corner, and you could see it off the nose of the Pennzoil Ford Mustang of Sean Butler. And guys, got a nice little 2x2 battle here. This right outside the top 10, again with Rabideau and Kolnick's nearly making contact off of the corner, and then right behind him, Butler and Patrick Fogel going door to door here at Iowa.
Yeah, and Fogel's just trying to take advantage of all this, but there's nowhere really to go for him at the moment. You can say the same for Justin Knobloch at the moment, where really you're just waiting for somebody to fully clear themselves before you in turn make the move. It can take 10 to 12 laps at Iowa Speedway to make a pass here, Blake, because of the space and a bit of contact between Fogel and Butler, forcing a bit of a checkup down the high side too, as the 115 here we got to the back end of Rabideau.
They have gone single file up at the front, but back here they are racing hard, all the track position mattering. And of course, we know that this series has shown that on tracks like this, it is capable of getting those long green flag runs like we're accustomed to seeing here at Iowa. Even it was back at South Boston, I believe we had a 2-caution race there, and it looks like the groove is shifting a little bit, Justin. We see a lot of drivers starting to move up towards the middle of the racetrack, or at least defend out there. We see Sean Butler down on the bottom. We see Evan Rice close quarters there off of turn number 2 as Rice works down the back straightaway. He's got Omar Diallo, who is up a couple of spots since the drop of the green flag started 23rd, now runs a 19th, and he'll try to clear that 98 off of 4, and he's able to do it. Rice checks up for him.
Giving him a little bit of space with Matthew Zwack as well in that lineup, and absolutely just how the factor of the racing is, where you're just trying to make other lines work, as we talked about with that progressive banking. Higher it goes, the more banking. A bit of contact as Justin Knobloch all the way up to the wall in turn 3 after nearly bouncing off the back end of the 115.
And big run there for Knobloch. You can see the run he gets into the corner, and this is something we might see, not sure. We haven't seen anybody really go up and test that. Is Knobloch and Butler just door to door in mere centimeters apart. Not sure how they didn't have a coming together there through 1 and 2, but not sure if we'll see it at some point in this race. We've seen the bottom come in. We've seen that middle groove, which has much more banking there than the bottom. And then, of course, you have the third groove up there by the wall. You likely won't see it in turns 1 and 2 as Knobloch once again. That is Gary Waterworth challenging for 14th. They are running mere inches apart here at this juncture, and they've found a way to keep it green so far.
You can just see how much they're trying to angle it down, arc it down from the top to the bottom right now and build up a bit of a ramp on some of these corners. And it seems absolutely that groove has now gone to where if you're stuck on the bottom, you might go backwards. In the case of Waterworth, that's now the case. He's getting pinched on down by several different drivers here. Just can't keep up that momentum off the corner to be able to try and execute, and now has to be able to try and find a hole here to get himself back into a groove.
It's certainly the case that as this track rubbers in, it appears, or maybe as the tires wear out, perhaps there's enough grip there to be able to hold down on the bottom, and as the tires slick off, build some heat in them and start to wear a little bit away, perhaps that move to the middle line. Even if it's not the fastest groove, Justin, this is one of the things that's so unique here about Iowa, because you can move around this racetrack. You may be faster in one line, but if there's another line that is a good defensive line, you can go up there, and you may not be going faster, but you're not getting past. So that is an option that these drivers certainly have here at this racetrack.
Definitely is an option, a very solid option. In fact, as you see Evan Rice getting shuffled on back, it's a -7 for him so far. Just he's trying to utilize the third line at the moment along with Waterworth and Schwartz now. Them starting to fan out, and it's just not sticking, I don't think. He does have a bit of damage on the back end that might be hampering Rice a little bit, but still just isn't able to send it as hard as some of the other drivers right now into the corner entry, and that's where they're now taking advantage with how much speed they're then in turn carrying throughout the corner, and in turn being able to rotate to the corner apex and off.
They're able to do that, but why don't we look out front for the moment as there is a good battle going on. It was Derek Justice since the drop of the green flag that has led all 19 laps as we come across already on lap 20. They fly by quickly here at Iowa, but very quickly we have seen Michael Guest the last couple of laps, nearly a tenth to the better of that Baskin-Robbins Toyota in front of him. So Derek Justice and Michael Guest clearly showcasing that speed tonight, but Guest starting to reel him in just a little bit each lap.
Yeah, both of them very much dialed in 25.5s. That is about a tenth less quicker than the rest of the field at the moment, and they're near identical for how they're running their lines at the moment. Guest, though, I've noticed is running a little bit lower, Blake, just trying to run closer to that line. Justice is carrying a little bit more speed into the apex, even though Guest is able to send it in a little bit more deeper under the brakes. It's more so 3 and 4. It's a bit noticeable.
It is, and of course when you talk about race car drivers, they always have tracks that they prefer, or tracks when it's lined up on the schedule they are just not looking forward to it. For Derek Justice, Iowa Speedway is the track that he circles on the calendar and cannot wait to get out there. He loves this racetrack, doesn't matter what sim it's been in, whether it was NR 2003 or out here in iRacing. He just loves this racetrack. It's always been a very comfortable place for Justice. You can see exactly why, and even in qualifying was the better of about 4/100ths of a second over this entirely talented field. So Justice in a comfortable spot right now in that clean air, but again, the last couple of laps, he and Michael Guest starting to match some lap times, and oh, by the way, fastest car on the racetrack that last time amongst the top 3 was actually Michael Cozy Jr., so perhaps the 99 will move up here as Guest moves to the high side, looking to build up some momentum for a run at Justice.
Yeah, and you'll see drivers do that because there's a good chance if they can build up enough momentum, they can send it to the inside in 1 and 2 for the pass, or do what Guest is trying to do, get to the outside and pinch on down if you build up enough momentum and deep enough into the brakes. So I think Guest is just trying to get more so maybe to the outside to be able to try and peel away that top line for Justice on corner exit to then in turn take away this race lead. The tough part's going to be fully getting side by side since it's a longer distance around even with the progressive banking.
Well, I think we've seen it tonight. We have not seen as many drivers running up by the wall in turns 3 or in turns 1 and 2 rather. In 3 and 4, it is very much in play, and you see the case right there with Guest as now he'll run right in tow with Derek Justice in the bottom in 3 and 4, and he'll elect to try to beat him on speed there. So Guest just trying to figure out if he has that grip on the high side, and of course 2 very talented drivers going at it here at the front of the field. They're separated by about a car length and have been for about the last 10 laps. It is pretty much single file, but a nice little 4-car battle here going on for about the 4th position. Braden Buyos holding on over Brian Mercurio, Jacob Fisher, and of course Malik Ray. You knew he would be making his way forward through this field. He started 12th. He's already up to the 7th position and starting to chase down a couple of FTF regulars in front of them.
And you can see just how much he's taking a bit more of a flatter entry right now, trying to pick up some time on that entry, but isn't picking it up on the exit. We'll see how it helps him in terms of the tire wear later on. I think right now, though, he feels he's a little bit quicker than these other drivers. That's why he's trying to change up the lines, try and get some clean air on the front nose, try and play around and see, can I make this work? Can I make this work? Can I make that work? Can I make this work? All along those lines right now, and those lines continue to play very pivotal at this moment. Just as mentioned, though, you need to keep yourself in a rhythm. It takes several laps to properly set up a pass here. It's not something where you immediately get to the back bumper and say, okay, it's time to make the pass. I've been on this back bumper for only half a lap.
You can do that in some ways. Of course, it is a shorter track, so of course, you know, you can get a little bit of contact here, perhaps given the bump, but we'll see at least an attempt at a clean pass here. Is Ray going to get to the bottom of Jacob Fisher? And this is one of those things, Justin. Ray may be a little bit faster in that Rowdy Energy Supra, but you see Fisher able to go to the top side, and we saw Fisher and everybody in front of him all running the bottom, but as soon as you get side by side, pinching that car down, taking away their lane makes it pretty difficult. But I think the Space Station teammates going to cut themselves a little bit of slack as Jacob Fisher will let Malik Ray go on by, and Ray is up into 6th and nearly up into the top 5.
I'm very curious to see how far Ray can get here in this race with how he's progressing. Is the tough thing, though. He's already more than 3 seconds behind at the moment here on this racetrack from the race leaders. That's how much time they've lost from shuffling about.
Have lost a little bit of time there as well, as we have completed now 32 laps, nearly a third of the way through, at least getting close to it in this race. Have not been slowed by a single green flag or yellow flag up to this point, as Derek Justice, Michael Guest, Michael Cozy Jr., your top 3, Braden Boulos, Jacob Fisher, Jonathan Oates, Nathan Rabideau, and Brian Mercurio, Michael Frisch routing out your top 10 as they run at the moment. Michael Guest, though, still about a car length away. He has not let Justice get out of his sight, and they both run in lockstep. You could see Guest a little bit lower there through turns 1 and 2 as he tries to chase down Michael Cozy, or excuse me, Derek Justice there, and that is how they run. So 34 laps on the board, and we won't let you miss a minute of it as we go side by side here at the Iowa Speedway for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back with you here for coverage of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals, live tonight from the Iowa Speedway. If you're just joining us, we are starting lap number 40, and all of them have been run under the green flag. Blake McCandless, Justin Prince, as well as Zach Johnson down in the virtual production trailer, and almost the first contact or big-time contact of the race is Sean Butler. I don't know how he didn't get into Kenny Brady. This is a battle for 15th. Brady has been storming through the field, started all the way back in 26th, and has made ground in that middle line. But Justin, they got oh so close there in 1 and 2, and Butler right now paying the price. He's got a little bit of right front damage on that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I don't think they realized at first glance that they were 3 wide. It was that tight amongst them, though. A great job by Brady in particular to make sure he didn't make any significant contact or get loose in that circumstance. But Butler's definitely going to be reeling now with a bit of that damage now, going to hamper him a little bit. He's already lost a couple spots as a result here, and trying not to lose one to David Schildhaus as Andrew Schwartz also trying to find a way on by.
And that's been the case all night long. You make one mistake, and it's going to hurt you. And unfortunately there for Butler, that right front damage, we know in these Xfinity cars, not going to be all too kind to him, as he is now side by side with David Schildhaus, who has moved forward a couple of positions since the drop of the green flag. Has just been patiently minding his time there in that advanced GG Gamer Advantage Chevrolet. He works to the bottom of the racetrack now as Butler will go up top. Butler second in points right now, and if you want to get technical, Justin, I think as far as drivers who have started 10 races, he missed one race, which you could argue, which is why he's not in the points lead, but is pretty much up there right in the thick of it with Nathan Rabideau, who currently leads this series, Andrew Schwartz, Tristan Hagenstein, and Jonathan Oates rounding out your top 5 in this series. So a bit of a big difference, and that's what's interesting about this series between the drivers that we will typically see battling for the race win up front and the drivers who tend to make up this battle for the championship.
Yeah, if you want to win a championship, you need to be consistent. That's the main thing, and that's one of the tough things when it comes to a series like this, because you need to be consistent at a variety of different racetracks that in some circumstances you may not normally be in that type of a car during official racing, or in many other series like Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, like Road Atlanta, like some of the other races later on in the calendar. It can make it that much more difficult to find that right balance, to be able to score valuable points, to say the very least, in what's been an interesting season so far. But towards the front, we talked about Ray potentially being able to be on the charge. He's been able to slowly but surely reel in Braden Boulos and Brian Mercurio, and he's doing it while trying to change up the lines here to build up a run.
That's exactly what he's done. This is a battle for fourth that has really gone on for the better part of the last 20 laps between both Boulos and Brian Mercurio. And Malik Ray, after making a couple of moves back there, worked his way up into the top 10. He has pulled right up to this battle. So perhaps thinking that 11 Rowdy Energy Toyota may not have or may have something for these guys. As you see, Ray will run a lane higher than the 2 in front of him. He'll get the run off of the corner, a little bit of a slide out of the 62 machine, and Malik Ray all over the back bumper. But as we well know, catching them is one thing, passing them is another. We'll see how Ray is going to try to do it here once again in 3 and 4.
Yeah, at the very least, I think he's just a touch bit quicker, and now he's picked up that the top line wasn't working initially. He's back to try and make the bottom line work. He's a couple hundredths, I think, quicker. And really, that makes it that ever much more difficult to properly get the pass done. And at this point as a driver, all you're going to do is try and play around with the lines, trying to adjust, and in turn potentially use the lap traffic they're now reaching as a pick here possibly.
That is going to be the case. We are starting to get into lap traffic here. We see Derek Justice has been able to work through about 39th position on back, and that is going to continue to build up for the rest of these drivers that are battling on the lead lap. Mercurio will go to the high side, Boulos on the bottom, and Malik Ray looking for a way by that 62 machine, and of course the 53 of Justin Malillo right in front of them, affecting this battle.
Yeah, that's going to really affect them on the corner exit here. In fact, I think Brian Mercurio will have to check up a little bit. That's going to help Ray, and Ray is someone that likes to try and take risks. How about 3 wide with the traffic?
And Ray's going to get that run off the top. I think he was looking for any opportunity to get to the outside of Mercurio, use that momentum off the corner, and that is going to be the opportunity for Ray to not only get 5th, he may try to get 4th as well, as he'll have that spot off of the corner. Nothing that Mercurio can do there as he slides on the bottom of the racetrack. So Ray cleared to 5th, and now he sets his sights on the Logitech Altus Esports machine directly in front of him. And, you know, he's got a little bit of lap traffic and Andy Margo as well to work with. So we'll see how Ray tries to get this next pass done.
Yes, indeed. And you can tell he's just that little extra bit quicker, more traffic to take advantage of here, possibly. No, in fact, Ray this time is the one getting held up.
It's going to slow him up, but he'll look to the bottom in 1 and 2, and Bulos recognizes that. He'll go to the top side here, and Bulos looks like I thought may just give him this spot. He was certainly slow in the middle of the corner, and I think here into 3 and 4, Ray may just kind of throw the old slide job. We see it a couple of times here at Iowa. If you could slide up in front of that car on the top side of the racetrack, it will work, and we'll see Ray able to complete that as Bulos got really tight there in the middle of the corner. So Ray up to 4th. And he has certainly been the most impressive drive that we've seen through the field. Of course, got to give a shout out to Omar Diallo as well. Started all the way back in 23rd, and he is now running up in the top 10. But out front, Derek Justice, we saw that battle commence with Michael Guest for a couple of laps. But since then, Justice through the lap traffic and through the later part of this run, he has begun to pull away almost 2 seconds ahead of Michael Guest. And now Guest is going to come under assault here from Cozy as they catch lap traffic.
Yeah, Guest has been just struggling to get through all this traffic. Each time he's reaching his last time, and he's going to go for the undercut. Guest is coming into pit, and the pit window is now open for the race leaders.
Well, we are starting to reach that point that, we're about halfway through this race, or what would be a fuel mileage or, a one-stop race. Obviously, lap 57, lap 58 would split this 115-lap race perfectly down the middle, and you can see a couple of drivers, like you said, Cozy, like Michael Guest, that may look to try and gain a little bit of time on the race leader, Derek Justice, who is about 2.5 seconds right now ahead of Michael Cozy Jr. And if you're Justice right now, Justin Prince, I wouldn't be too worried about some drivers that are trying the undercut here. You may give up a little bit of time, but if I were Justice, the last thing you want here is a caution. If you pit, you'll be trapped a lap down. It'll ruin your whole race. You have a little bit of wiggle room being a couple seconds in the lead, so if I were Justice here, I would wait just a couple of laps after some of the drivers behind me to pit to make my trip onto pit road.
100% agree with you on that, because the fall hasn't been overly massive. It's only been about 1.5 seconds so far for competitors. So he's got that opportunity to say, you know what? I'm going to get the fresher tires here, stay out by an extra, say, 5-7 laps or so, and then you can pass them on back throughout the run. He's got that option, as well as there's the option to try and push on forward just past now, halfway, and a bit further along on the distance. So there is that option where, as the leader, you have a lot of flexibility where you can put yourself into attack mode, yes, but into a easy mode, so to speak, of it.
That is the case, and of course it is FTF. We've seen bold strategies commence not only in this series but in all the FTF series. Even last night in the season opener in FTF 1, we saw a little bit of strategy coming into play. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's somebody in this field that, as a couple of cars will continue to peel off and go to pit road to get 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, that eventually somebody will cycle through to the race lead and try to get that caution flag to try and trap everybody else a lap down, put themselves in a good position. I think we're not too far from seeing that, and as we continue to see cars peel off to pit road, the 93 and Nathan Rabideau, your points leader, has made his way to pit road. And Justin, this is probably one of the more difficult pit road entries that we come to. It is a tight entry here. You see Justice will make his way in, nearly clips the cone, and was able to get in there safely. So Justice not going to wait until some of the folks around him pit. He's just going to come right here at lap 60, a little past halfway.
And the face on the back end of Roger Gregory's car is probably the face that I have too, because it was a bit of an earlier entry from the car he entered with, but just as absolutely sent it side by side with one of the lap cars to be able to try and maximize the amount of time. That might lose him a little bit of time. We'll have to see how this plays out. He's likely not going to cycle to the front, of course, but he is going to be potentially at least a few tenths quicker than Michael Guest, and he's been, as we talked about, getting through this traffic much cleaner. But now, keep in mind, the fuel, you can make it about 80 plus laps. So it's the question of who elects to roll the dice and try and pin the field is going to be the big question.
That is the case as we see still several leaders have not made their way onto pit road, but Michael Cozy Jr., who is currently scored as the race leader, will make his way on. That'll turn the lead over to Malik Ray. Brian Mercurio is still currently out on the racetrack, as well as Braden Boulos. Michael Cozy Jr. onto pit road. Sean Butler hasn't come down yet, and that is the caution that they didn't want to see. Yellow flag is out, and oh boy, is this going to flip the entire running of this race. Is in the midst of green flag pit stops, the caution has come out, and this may not have worked better for anybody. Justin Princeton, Michael Cozy Jr., who will likely be able to come out onto pit road, keep his lap, and may just have lucked into being the leader.
And our first caution comes from a situation where I'm wondering, wow, because Evan Rice essentially overcooked his pit entry, was trying to pit with several drivers lined up essentially in the bottom of the racetrack, and then missed the bottom of the racetrack in turn 3, so he had to pit from the second lane, and you just can't do that. 3-4 wide as drivers trying to dodge their way through the incident, and that's what in turn spun around the 222 in the major stack-up effect as several cars are forced to scatter around.
And that is the case. You don't, and especially here at Iowa, it's advantageous to take that line and really cut close to the inside retaining wall. The problem is when you're running the second lane, you're not really giving a whole lot of heads up to the drivers behind you that you are going to make your way onto pit road. So as Rice cuts down there, running the middle and eventually gets into the second lane, Lucas Plosol slows up for the 98, but unfortunately Alex Kolinick's just not privy to that information. Really nothing he could do to try to slow up there. Wasn't anticipating that cut to pit road, so he gets into the back of Lucas Plosol, and eventually it is that 222 machine that brings out the first caution flag of the evening. So Malik Ray, Brian Mercurio, Braden Boulos, they luck into it, and they will stay up front. And perhaps, again, I don't think anybody could have planned this better than the two drivers that may have just left pit road, or perhaps it's a single one in Michael Cozy Jr., who was on pit road when the caution flag came out. He's going to be able to trap everybody else behind him, and he's got the fresh tires.
Yeah, but the tough thing's going to be for some of these drivers that now there's going to be a lot of drivers going to have to try and take a wave around possibly here if they can at this point. And this is the tough part. I think Cozy Jr. might be amongst that group, unfortunately. Yeah, he is a part of that group. So this is going to be several dozen drivers who are going to be on 10, 15 lap older tires now. Malik Ray, if anything, is the one who this benefits the most, because he stayed out of the racetrack and now he's got a great shot. And Michael Guest is among the drivers who are going to be on the lead lap here, since he was in the lucky dog position at the top of the caution.
Yeah, Guest came down and pretty much split this race perfectly in half, so he didn't go a couple of laps further than everybody else, and it lucked out for him that he was the lucky dog. With the fresh tires, he was able to make up a significant amount of time there in the few laps that he was on those tires, so was able to get in the lucky dog position. Braden Boulos, Brian Mercurio, Gary Waterworth did not come down pit road until that caution flag came out, as well as Sean Butler. Nate Stewart did as well. Matt Spalding, a beneficiary of it as well. And, you know, Justin, this is how this race really turns on its head. Not only Cozy's going to be okay because he doesn't have any laps on his tires. He'll get the wave around. He's just going to have to work his way forward through the back of the field. If you're somebody like Derek Justice or Kenny Brady, Omar Diallo, a couple of names that pit a couple of laps ago, you're on 3-4 lap old tires to get this restart. So you're really at a disadvantage taking the wave around, and you're at a disadvantage on the age of those tires, because you're going to get eaten alive those first couple of laps where you don't have those 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. The drivers like Justice right now, they're hoping that after this restart that there is another caution.
They're going to need one at this point, possibly, to try and equalize things out. And the ones who are really shouting for that are drivers like Matthew Zwack and Ethan Corder. How about 17 laps or so on the tires for Zwack, coming up to 22 laps on Corder. They were among the drivers who went for a massive undercut, Blake. So we're coming up towards the choose cone here, keep in mind, for these drivers in what's going to be a massive amount of wave arounds this time.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to exactly decide where all this shakes out with nearly everybody in the field starting to take the wave around of the pace car. You continue to see the work that they do, and they have to get around quickly because the whole field's taking it. So that means the leader is going to be at the back of this field and restart this race relatively quickly. We see Malik Ray working off of the corner, and actually they're going to throw the caution flag just to allow everybody the necessary time to get caught up for this restart. So we'll go one more lap around before we get this race restarted. But a clean race to start out, but as the sun sets here, we know this is FTF. Things have the tendency to get pretty crazy, and we may see that now in this race as you'll see a mix of drivers who feel like they should win this race, Justin. I'm sure Derek Justice perhaps the most unhappy of the bunch, as he was out here, led every lap until this cycle of green flag stops, and he's going to try to get back out front if he can, but he's got a lot of traffic to work through if he's going to get back up there. So you imagine things are going to get pretty dicey here. We may see 2, we may see 3. I think we can even fit 4 wide here at Iowa.
Yeah, he might have to be on the aggressive mode for him, and he's usually someone we see better on the long run. So it's going to be really interesting how they play out now. Are we going to have to utilize the high line? Wouldn't be surprised to see him dart quickly to that bottom line as soon as they get to turn 1, with how crazy we're about to see things fare out. A lot of different drivers now up at the front who are going to be contenders possibly here.
Well, these drivers certainly aren't slowing themselves as we see the field turn over to eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver Malik Ray with Brian Mercurio, former pro driver last year, to his inside, and he's going to wait a little bit before we get us going. He'll elect the outside line. It gets clear by about a car length or 2 as they work into 1 and 2. Green flag out with 45 laps to go. Ray in the top spot. He's clear to the lead. We may see that middle line be a little bit stronger here on this restart than when this track was covered by the sun earlier on when we started this race, but they form out single file for the first 3. And then how about this? Gary Waterworth, Sean Butler battling as we see a couple of cars in the fence on the front stretch.
So easy to do here at this racetrack is push too hard on the corner exit, slam your car into the outside fence. That's really checked up a few different lines, and that's going to really bunch everyone back up 2-3 wide or so. As we see that 47 of Spalding trying to utilize the bottom, and as his back bumper says, if you see it, wish Matthew Wack happy birthday. Spalding not able to take advantage here of this opportunity.
Not able to do it right there, but one car was in the outside wall, I think, for the second time. It was Jake Poulin who was a beneficiary of that caution. He was running back in 32nd earlier. He now runs in 14th, but he's got some hungry drivers behind him. Michael Guest, Michael Kozu Jr., as well as Derek Justice, and they are fanning out 3 wide in front of them with some lap traffic. Justin Melillo, he still scored a lap down, but they are 2 by 2. Evan Rice and them side by side, and this is one of the frustrating things about losing that track position, Justin. They don't really have anywhere to go out here. They can maybe try to make that third line work, but they're going to have to wait for things to settle out or push the issue themselves. You see Justice going all the way to the wall to try to do just that.
You need to be very patient in this type of situation, absolutely. You can't just completely barrel roll into the incident or into a battle for position like this. You need to be able to be very precise, choose your lanes in a smart motion, and that's what drivers like Derek Justice are trying to do at this moment. Try and figure out, okay, what's the best line to go to? How do I play this out? Can I get a run to get past somebody? Do I try and take somebody 3 wide? Do I keep it 2 wide? All that has to be processed in a quick motion as they're going 3 wide in front of them.
Jake Poulin up to the top, Cosmin Yanescu in the middle, and Evan Rice on the bottom. Mind you that this is amongst a battle of lead lap cars. Right now, Patrick Fogel, the green 115 machine, he would be the lucky dog. Justin Melillo directly behind him. They're battling for the lucky dog, and then they're 3 wide behind them battling on the lead lap. So a lot of racing here going on. Is Cozy going to go to the outside for a moment on Yanescu that he is on the lead lap? Rice is a lap down on the bottom. Tight squeeze there. Justice will follow Cozy there on the top side. This is close quarters racing as, again, we have that battle for the lucky dog, and then the rest of the drivers trying to get back into the top 10.
Oh, and Michael Guest all the way up on the marbles, tried to follow along on the top line, just couldn't get there, lost a ton of time in the corner as a result there. And now Justice completely boxed in, just nowhere for him to go as they're now thinking about taking Melillo 3 wide.
Poulin's going to go to the top side of the racetrack again, blocking any entry. They're a scattered 4 for just a moment as Melillo goes to the bottom. Here comes Jake Poulin off the corner, and it looks like that high side has been the preferred lane for some of these drivers to try to make up time. Perhaps Justice will look to the middle here on Cozy, but he'll just pinch Gianescu there on the bottom of the racetrack. That mean machine with the numbers there, you love to see it, is now Melillo's again caught in the middle of a sandwich. He'll try to back out of it as Gianescu will make his way on by. Justice will move on through on the top of the racetrack. So close quarters there for a second. They're able to keep it going. But again, just a lot of time being lost here for some of these cars trying to make up that track position.
So keep in mind while the battle for the race lead is heating up, because Brian Mercurio, he's stepping on it. And he's picking up that pace to keep up with Malik Ray. Has been the quickest car to the track the past few laps. The average 5.4 100ths quicker per lap. And he's sending it in deeper into the corners compared to Ray. So it's going to be the question, though, of how will those tires fare with how aggressively Mercurio's trying to push here to get by Malik Ray.
Well, we'll see what Mercurio's trying to do, perhaps trying to prove himself to Malik Ray, who puts him in the I category. We're talking about memes tonight. I guess that's one for you, as Mercurio in lockstep with Malik Ray as they work through 1 and 2, and not a whole lot of space between them. Very even between these top two these last couple of laps, and we haven't seen up here at the front a whole lot of changing of lanes. We saw Guest do it a little bit, but it didn't seem to pan out very well for him up at the front. It has seemed to be that bottom groove, and then if you get a challenger, you can go up there to the middle and try to defend a little bit. But you see Mercurio, he'll run a little bit lower off the corner. Ray will get the better exit as he cuts down through the center of the corner. But again, not a whole lot separating your top two.
Yeah, now looks like Ray missed the bottom of a little bit there that time. Mercurio with a good opportunity to try and peek to the inside. Just couldn't get completely to the quarter panel quite yet. They're starting to pull away a little bit of a distance now over Brandon Bulos and the rest of the pack by about a 1/10 a lap at the moment. It's going to be intriguing at how this plays out. Mercurio is still a little bit quicker overall in the stopwatch, but the eye test still shows Ray's able to just defend fairly well up the front with the clean air.
Well, do we see the bumper be used? I know we haven't talked about it, but this is just a 0.88-mile racetrack here in Iowa. I think we could very well see the bumper come into play and perhaps be important as you get a nice shot right on the bumper cam of Malik Ray as Mercurio off of the corner. You see him lose a little bit of ground, but he'll run just a little bit higher. This may be the run that he needs, but you see him get a little loose there through 3 and 4, not able to keep that momentum down. So he's trying to run a little bit higher, build up that run, but you saw him there, just sidestepped it a little bit, wasn't able to get the power down.
They are approaching lap traffic. Keep in mind Tristan Hagenstein, and depending on where Hagenstein runs, that may be the opportunity for Mercurio to take a peek. We've already seen, keep in mind, 1 second of fall off already in this run, and we're just already about 20 laps or so on these tires. That's a decent amount of fall off already seen as the lights are on above this racetrack. 97 degrees track temp. It is starting to pick up the heat.
It is starting to pick up the heat, although 88 degrees, it's relatively cool out here for this track. But again, that is the result of this changing track. It was much warmer earlier in this race when we had the sun on it. And even with an 88 degree Fahrenheit ambient temperature, you see that track temp actually just ticked up a degree up to 98 there. But it is much cooler than when we started this race, as they are nearly nose to tail at the front of the field. I thought Mercurio had a run on him just a couple of laps ago off of turn number 4, but again, not a whole lot separating these top two. And while they battle, still a lot slower through the field is the likes of Justice and Cozy Jr. than I thought they would be. Justice still stuck back there in the 11th position. I thought we would see him around 7th or 8th at this point, but I think that just goes to show you how important track position is here. Perhaps a little bit of dirty air coming into play here. We are going about we're going about 100 in these corners, and Parker Kligerman said to me, if you're going above 60 miles an hour, there's dirty air, so perhaps that coming into play as well.
I think possibly, and more so just the fact you're barred in all the traffic and trying to fight side by side and trying to battle with one error is where it really factors into where it's so difficult to be able to make up time here at Iowa if you don't immediately get yourself track position in this type of a race. And we're seeing that come into play now for many of the contenders early on who, even with the ones who are great on the long run, are struggling at this point. But keep in mind, Ray, who we've seen backing up his corners a little bit before, is really starting to pull away a bit of distance.
He is, and again, I don't think this is too much of a shock. We saw just as far as pace is concerned that Malik Ray ran down the 62 on worst track position and was able to make up ground and really carve his way through the field. So no shocker here for me, Justin, to see that eventually as we get into part of this run, I think Mercurio just wanted to make a charge at him, but as we continue on green flag racing, perhaps that clean air or whatever line that Malik Ray has found is just too much for him as he's pulled away a little bit. Mercurio, a big charge into the corner that last time through 3 and 4, but not a whole lot able to happen. But there's still a lot left to happen in this race, about 23 laps to go here at Iowa Speedway. And, Justin, all we need is one caution to really shake things up here. We'll see different tire strategies, so still a lot left to play out here.
I think, though, we are past that point where you risk staying out or even risk taking 2 tires. They needed a caution about 10 laps ago for that option to open up for the drivers who were able to come in under yellow flag conditions before. But Ray's definitely got the pace now. He's started to pick it up where that average we were talking about over 5 laps has shifted 4 100s quicker now for Ray up at the front of the field in that clean air. But give a shout out to some of these drivers who are now in conversations for top 10s as a result of that caution flag and some of the strategy. Ryan Naraki, plus 38 in 6th position. Nate Storr, plus 20, 7th position. Casey Nemitz, 8th position, plus 30. Brent Pancari, Winterick Talladega, plus 19 positions in 9th place. All of them have done a fantastic job now that they've got the track position to keep the pace up. That has been in a decent comparable speed compared to many of the drivers who were in those same positions before.
Yeah, that is a great job, and I think when you talk about Ryan Naraki in particular, again, Caboose on the field started 44th and is running up in the 6th position. That is awfully impressive, but this changes everything, Justin. Caution flag is out. Andy Margot on the back end. It looks like a little bit of contact that perhaps he had with Victor Valley. Again, this was a battle. Valley trying to stay on the lead lap. It happened very close to the race leaders, and Andy Margot, 1 lap down, was on the high side of the racetrack. They have it coming together off of turn number 2. And oh boy, does this set something up here in the final 20 laps.
Yeah, it looks like Margot just came down the racetrack from the top groove after really losing a lot of momentum. See Valley not expecting that at all. Hits the door and around they go.
Yeah, just pretty explanatory right there. Looks like the 24 drifted up the track just a little bit. Margot perhaps trying to take a little bit of a better exit. As you see, they were going nearly 3 wide there off the corner as they were about a car length behind the 18 machine. But this shakes everything up. Tire strategy. We'll look to pit road and see who is willing to take the gamble. Will we see 2 tires? Will we see 4? And I imagine we'll see a good number of drivers stay out, try to get that wave around, and maybe get perhaps lucky with another yellow. But this is the money stop, Justin. We'll see who's willing to get off of pit road first, and does anybody have a trick up their sleeve?
It'd be a massive gamble, I think, to take 2, especially with the difference on laps, especially with how slick it can be now for some of those competitors. But it
Ray
looks
took
like
2.
Wow, he took the risk. A few drivers did. Brady, Diallo, several others deciding, you know what? It's worth taking a gamble with 30-lap-old left-side tires.
Well, it really said something to me that we were going to see plenty of drivers make that gamble when the race leader, who you would think may give up 2, 3, 4 positions to have those fresh tires, but even he was willing to take those 2. So Ray, Cozy Jr., Guest, Mercurio, Bulos, your top 5 off the pit road. So plenty of drivers, like you said, willing to take that risk to keep that track position. We saw how important it was during that last run, and we see it shake out here. So big calls made on pit road.
And it's going to be really intriguing if they can make it stick here, as they'll come up to the choose cone. And keep in mind, when they reach the choose cone, that they have to be able to drive around the blue cone. That's for the pit exit. You're to the inside for the inside line, to the outside for the outside line. Essentially, you cannot hit the cone here, so that's going to be very valuable here when these drivers come around to the 2 to go signal. To keep that in mind, and those lane positionings, I think, are going to be very critical for some of these battles now, especially for the drivers who took 4 compared to the 2.
Absolutely. We've seen the leader each time by take the high side, even on the initial restart of the race. That is what Derek Justice did. But, of course, throughout the field, Justin, I feel like you kind of want to restart on the high side. At least if I was in the driver's seat, that's exactly what I would want, to be able to defend and pinch that car down on the bottom as this track has continued to go through the transition. As the sun has gone down, we are now in the nighttime sky. The lights are on. I feel like that middle lane only gets stronger and stronger. And of course, if you're right around those battles where we might see 4 tires, 2 tires, choosing different lanes, I think if you're somebody like Derek Justice, you just go whichever lane has the least amount of cars in it, because you want to move as far forward as possible on those 4 tires. So we'll see everybody make their choice, I think, the next time or the next trip around, and that is exactly the case. Malik Ray and Michael Cozy will choose the high side, as we'll go side by side for the final time. You'll see them choose it out, and we will bring you back to the end of the race once we get back. Looks like nobody penalized there for hitting the choose cone, as we'll take the green flag with 15. It'll be 14 laps to go when Malik Ray takes it. And I'm not sure if anybody has anything for him, Justin, but we will see the difference on whether that 2-tire call is worth the track position, or whether these guys out front are going to be in a bit of a panic here in the waning laps of this race. Pace car will pull to the safety of pit road and give the field over to the Rowdy Energy Toyota Supra of Malik Ray. As the pace car pulls off, Ray has control of the field, and he can go whenever he wants. He went late last time. Will he go a little bit earlier? No, it'll be about the same. He'll actually stack up the field, wait until the green flag. A smart decision there. And Ray and Guest, that's the downside. They go side by side, and they're already one spinning in the middle of the pack.
And a bit of a stack up with that, and that's the intended target, so to speak, but not in that major context where you want to see that big of an incident. Just drivers, I think, just had that massive checkup, not enough time for some of them to react there in that situation.
And that's exactly the case, and that is why I think that was a smart move there by Malik Ray. If anything, if you feel like you're at a disadvantage on those old tires, why not pull a little bit of a move that you think may lessen the opportunity for us to go green? You see it implemented a lot of times where you try to stack up the field, and you see everybody behind anticipating that restart. And again, Malik Ray completely within his purview to go whenever he wants. It's the responsibility of everybody else in the field to go when the leader does. And you see the stack up there. Oh, Justin, it looks like David Schildhouse is involved in that one. Cosmin Yaneshu gets wrapped up in that one as well. But that's exactly what you need. Less tires less time rather for those 4 tires to run you down. And that's exactly what happens there. Big damage for Victor Valley as well. Ethan Corder running up in the top 10 in points he spins, and Lucas Poso is really around where all of that started.
Yeah, you seen Matt Spalding in particular was that one who jetted out to the outside thinking about making a move there and just try to make sure he didn't get a penalty by passing to the inside, since you cannot do that in that sequence there. So it's going to be interesting how this closes out now, since it's going to lessen the factor now of those 4 tires compared to the 2. That's going to be the big thing, that there's not going to be as many laps to try and utilize those 4 tires to try and make a pass. It might be in the case where Mercurio may be able to make a couple moves here, but the tough thing's going to be, Blake, is he going to have enough time now with this caution flag to be able to properly make the move?
That is the question we're all asking. Will he have the proper amount of time to do it, as he got 4 tires and is the first driver running on them? And plus, I think the one thing that helps you in this situation is the implementation of that choose cone. So if a bunch of drivers stack up the bottom, you can go to the top and vice versa to be able to get that advantage and kind of make it a little bit easier on yourself for some drivers that may look to defend track position on the top, or they think the bottom may get rolling. You have a little bit more control over your situation and track position with that choose cone. So love that they use that in this series, and FTF does everything necessary. Despite the fact that it's not coded within the iRacing service for them to be able to move around and utilize a feature, Justin, that frankly I think creates a lot of more excitement, and a lot more strategy comes into play when you have the choose cone in effect.
Yeah, you have to decide, okay, do I have an ally to work with to be able to decide, okay, will they give me some space? Will I be able to try and take advantage of somebody who's struggled on a specific line? All kinds of different lines coming into play. So it just comes into all those decisions of, okay, how do I want this to play out? And the main thing is here at the top, it absolutely is the great line to be able to launch on. You can, because on the fresh tires in particular, is talked about, you can pinch down. That's why you see so many drivers want to use that top line for the choose, as expected chooses the bottom. Cozy might be able to try and take advantage here if he can get side by side off the corner.
We'll do that as we continue to choose here. A fair amount of drivers taking the bottom. We see Justice back here in the 17th position. He elects to take the top lane. And, of course, you cannot hit that cone. We've seen a couple of drivers get pretty close throughout this evening and throughout the season. But it looks like everybody able to get through it pretty cleanly here as we make that trip around the blue choose cone. So lights will go off on the pace car this time by. We'll get the 1-to-go signal from Barney the flagman. And, of course, we do have the opportunity for more or overtime racing here tonight. We do have green-white checkers in the bag. If they should be needed, we'll be able to pull them out and use them. And we've seen that quite a bit on some of these shorter ovals that we've run in this series. This tends to be the natural order of things, that at the end of these races everybody gets aggressive, and we will we'll see if that continues here tonight. So we saw the stack up there from Malik Ray last time by. Does he go late? Does he go early? He has control. He's the only one that knows, that he gives plenty of space to that pace car, which may indicate, Justin, he may look to go a little bit earlier, about a second between he and that pace car as it dives to the safety of pit road. And Ray right now going a steady 49 miles an hour, and that launch right there you see with Guess, perhaps some coordination there as we'll go green. 8 laps to go as we work into 1 and 2. Malik Ray takes control of the race lead as they're 2 and 3 wide behind him.
And Guess giving him a little bit of space to come down in the corner as well. So there's that coordination. Indy coming in. Now the question is, can Mercurio find his way around the drivers on 2 tires here? The problem is he's boxed in an air caution at the back of the field.
Yellow flag is out once again, and this may be kind of how this race comes to an end, as caution on the back straightaway there will halt us once again. The 4th caution flag of this evening in a race that started with a very long, about a 60-lap green flag, about 65 laps or so is what we did from the drop of the green flag until we got our first yellow in the midst of green flag pit stops. It was Derek Justice that dominated this race race up to that point. And since then, since the strategy shook out, it has been all Malik Ray. And it may very well pay off for him and the rest of these drivers that elected to take those 2 tires, as we'll get another look at exactly what brought out our latest caution flag on the bar visuals replay.
And I believe it was the 88 of Ciasco who ends up sliding up into the safer barrier. It's going to be like EOL for him because just misjudged the corner exit, drove it into the safer barrier, and Kyle Short ends up being the innocent bystander on all of that, unfortunately.
That he is, and that stacks us up and gives us another caution flag and puts us in a situation, Justin, I'm not sure if we'll exactly get a green-white checkered this time around. I think we'll be a little bit short of it, so we'll get a couple of laps to go, I believe. When we get the green flag, will not count against one of our overtime attempts, and of course, if we get another caution flag after that, I'm sure that will follow in short order. As far as events that we have upcoming here on STN, the Four Corners Racing League gets rolling off from round 11 at the Kansas Speedway. That will be Monday night here, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, the drop of the green flag for that one. And then a couple of days later, the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series gets rolling in round number 5 for the second half of round number 1. It'll roll off from the Darlington Raceway, and boy, will that be exciting. Back-to-back nights. You got the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series the night before, and then, of course, Thursday, and I'm hearing we may have some changes in for Darlington before we get set for that, so that should be fun to decipher through. That'll be Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Coverage of Second Split will be live here on STN. Podium Esports will have Top Split coverage, and we'll roll here for Second Split. And then, of course, next week, another round of FTF 1 at the Michigan International Speedway. So an interesting way to go roll off at an oval in those cars in the Dallara IR01s, which I hear you actually have to tandem in those cars to be quick. So that should be a fun one. I had fun there last night. I was about 25th fastest car, but somehow we managed a P7 out of it. So that will commence next Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And a lot of upcoming exciting events here on STN, including Meme Weekend. Justin Prince, this weekend here on FTF is all about the memes. You've seen a couple of cars. We often see memes here at FTF. That's a lot of what this league is about, but you've seen more paint schemes than usual here tonight that are featuring that, and that's something we'll even commence tomorrow night with the running of the FTF Cup Series, the ex-wife 300K on bottom split. Will roll off tomorrow night as well. So a lot of memes this weekend, and no shocker here for the league that is for the fans to see some of that go on.
Very interesting indeed, and I'm not someone, I'll be honest, who is up to date on meme culture. Is that the proper term?
I guess we could call it that.
So it's been interesting to see some of the creative designs tonight, and I've been a fan of a couple of them tonight and how they've played it out and played the fun aspect of their days. I think one of them, is currently Cosmin, who did a fantastic job memeing up his car, and then you have some of those wishing happy birthdays across the field. So it's been an interesting paint scheme night, but it's going to be an interesting restart.
It certainly is. I think my favorite is the 22 machine, Jack Painter. He's got a bunch of corn on his car, and I mean, we're in Iowa. It is cornfield country here in the Midwest. So I'm particularly a fan of that. It almost looks like a Subway car with the corn on the cob right there. But we will get rolling off here for a natural green-white checkered. It's not going to count against an overtime attempt, but pace car is going to pull to the safety of pit road. Malik Ray, Michael Guest, your top two, and of course Brian Mercurio on that outside line. He's got 4 fresh tires. Will he be able to use them through the heat cycle? Green flag is out, and we'll see if we get back here for the white.
Mercurio doing a great job on that high line. I don't know if there's going to be enough time, though, to work in a lap and a half to get side by side with 2 different cars. He still needs to clear by Bulls here.
And Braden Bolus goes to the bottom of the racetrack. White flag is going to be out. Michael Guest went to the high side. He may have a charge of Malik Ray here, and the white flag is out. Here comes the 0.54 to the bottom. Malik Guest and Malik Ray side by side as Michael Guest tries to work it up off the corner, gets a little tight, give the advantage to Ray as they work down the back straightaway for the final time and into 3 and 4. No doubt about it, he charged through the field, and he's going to be able to get it done. Malik Ray is going to win tonight at Iowa.
What a job by Malik Ray tonight. He had some great pace, and the main thing is on the long runs, did a good job at saving the tires, and that in turn I think helped propel him to this checkered flag tonight.
Oh, it certainly did. Not the qualifying speed to take off, not the track position. Got a little bit lucky with some fuel strategy or pit strategy going his way, but there was no denying it that Ray certainly one of the fastest cars in the field, and once he got control of the lead, there was no looking back, and Ray will burn it down here at Iowa as we take a look at our race results here in this one. The Space Station Gaming Machine will burn it down as we look at the results. Malik Ray finishes on the top spot. Michael Guest came close there on having a late charge at him. He finishes in second. Braden Bolus finishes up in the third position. Brian Mercurio finishes up in fourth. Michael Koji Jr. fifth. Omar Diallo, a nice, impressive run from him. He finishes in the sixth position. Sean Butler may have control of the points lead after this one. He finished a fair amount in front of Nathan Rabideau in this one. He brings it home seventh. The other Space Station Gaming Machine, Jacob Fisher, in eighth. Ninth to Michael Frisch. Kenny Brady had a nice, solid top 10 effort tonight.
11th spot tonight goes to Ryan Araki from shotgun on the field, 44th starting position, while your pole sitter Derek Justice, who led the early stages of this race, finishes in 12th. Connor Horn 13th, Gary Waterworth in 14th, Oates, Stewart, Nemitz, Schwartz round out the top 18, with Spalding and Van Horst rounding out the top 20.
He may be the former points leader after tonight. 21st is Nathan Rabideau, 22nd to Jake Poulin. Justin Knobloch finishes in the 23rd position. Last week's winner at Talladega, Brett Pancari, brings it home in 24th. Cosmin Ionescu involved in that late caution. He finishes in 25th position. Same to David Schildhaus in 26th. Ethan Corder brings it home 27th. Matthew Zwack was 28th. Kyle Short, 29th. And Victor Valley rounded out the top 30.
31st spot goes to Jack Painter. Justin Malloy, 32nd, did find his way back in the lead lap. Roger Gregory, 33rd, with Rich Jamison and Lucas Plussel rounding up the top 35. Matt Horton and Patrick Fogel rounding out the lead lap cars, with Evan Rice, Tristan Hagenstein, Andy Margot rounding out the top 40. The rest of the field was Colonix, followed by Ciasco, Sweet, and Sprague Jr., year 44.
44 cars started this race. There were a fair amount that put a time down in qualifying, but were not able to make the green. I think it was 8 or 9 drivers, I believe, that were sent home. So 53 tried to make their way out to Iowa tonight, and this is the one that comes out on top. Malik Ray wins tonight at Iowa in impressive fashion. Malik, you got a copy there.
Hey, guys. What's up? How's it going?
It's going good, Malik. It's going better for you after that impressive run. Started back in 12th, but it really seemed, even though the strategy worked out for you, you had the speed in that Rowdy Energy Toyota tonight.
Yeah, man, I just tried to make sure that I just stayed on the bottom and just saved my tires at the end of the race. And then the yellow came out and I took it, and it was pretty much over after that.
So for you, I know you were making your way through the field, but we saw some drivers venture up to the middle, but the bottom seemed to be where you really made a lot of time.
Yeah, I believe the bottom, I think it was the fastest way in 1 and 2, and in 3 and 4, I would try to run the middle, and I'd be like half a tenth off. So then I just migrate back to the bottom of the track because it just seemed like it was it was the best way around the track. So.
And it definitely did. But as many times, when are we going to see you back out here again? I know a little bit of a part-time effort here in this series, even in the Cup Series as well. But will it be too much longer before we see you out here at FTF competition again?
I'm going to try to come out here every mile and a half at every plate track. That's about it.
All righty, Malik. Well, we'll throw you the mic one more time. Anybody you want to give a shout out to? This is your chance to do so.
Space Station, Michael Guest, and to whoever was the guy that brought out the yellow and the green flag stop. If it wasn't for you, I would not be where I am right now. So thank you.
Very nice there, Malik. Well, congratulations on tonight. We'll let you go enjoy your win.
All right, thank you, man.
Malik Ray, your winner tonight. Justin Prince is caught up with a driver who also benefited from that strategy. Michael Guest brings it home in second.
Yes, indeed. He was actually the lucky dog with that caution flag at the midway portion of this race tonight. And Michael, first things first, talk us through those final laps where you were battling with Malik Ray, trying to sort things out at the front of the field.
Yeah, we were pretty nervous about the 4-tire guys. So we were counting each other down, and I was giving him a lap each time. I wasn't sure if I really had anything or not, and I full fueled it. And I normally don't do that with 2 tires, but this setup was kind of ridiculously tight. So with the full fuel, it kind of gave me a little bit of grip. So I was kind of confident going into turn 1. So I sent it under him, and then it just got sideways on me.
I was going to say, it was an interesting decision because normally the split is about 15, 20 laps when you take the 2 tires. Most people did it with about 30 plus. What came into the decision to say, you know what, let's try taking 2?
Yeah, there are only 20 laps left at these short tracks. You can kind of get away with 2 tires more often than not, especially at nighttime. So I think I had a little bit longer on my tires than other people because I pit during the green flag run. But looking at with 20 laps left, I didn't think I could pass 10 people. So it was basically just trying 2 tires to see if it worked.
An interesting call indeed. And the next race scheduled goes for May the 8th to the Daytona Road Course. Your thoughts on going left and right at Daytona's Road Course coming up?
I don't know. I've never done a road course in FTF. I might try because I need to get better at road courses. Who knows?
With that note, thank you very much for the time, Michael. Congratulations on the run. Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, Malik for the countdowns. That's it's very much appreciated. And you guys, of course, for the broadcast, FTF for the league. It's been fun.
Congratulations on the run tonight, Michael.
Thanks.
Michael Guest coming home in second tonight, and a stellar race for him overall, Blake.
It really was, and it was for Braden Bolus as well. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, because I've been told a couple of things. Can I just make sure that Bolus is what I've been... Matt Danson sent me a message earlier. Let's just make sure I got that correct.
That was spot on the money, my man.
Bolus, okay, good to know. Well, you were kind of the third man on out really the whole night, whether it was Justice up front or obviously when Malik Ray grabbed it at the end. You were just always solid, and right there it seems like I was a pretty comfortable track for you.
It wasn't too bad. Not tonight, but I think about the time that that caution came out towards the middle of the race, I guess it was, I kind of realized that it seemed like I was probably just going to be sitting around 3rd or 4th the whole race, which isn't awful, Didn't think I quite had the speed to win, but sometimes you just gotta play out the race, see what happens, and find yourself in the best possible position that you can.
That's certainly the case. I know a lot of those Logitech esports machines have been very consistent up to this point, and just trying to be out here and get owners points, I'm sure, as well as your Cup Series efforts in this series. It's a fun track to come out and do this at this track.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been keeping up too much with the Cup side of things. I know that Cozy and Matt have been running that. I hope they're doing well, at the very least. Yeah, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So there you go.
All righty, Braden. Well, we'll give you the opportunity to thank anybody out there that you want to thank and to up here on the third step of the podium tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Well, thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast and all that jazz. I enjoy watching them back. Obviously, got to thank all the boys at Altus and everything. Cozy, just for being the man, sticking in there with it all night, trying to get back up into in the top 5 there. I think he got. Obviously, got to thank Logitech G, Astro, VRS, Race Tech, Cube Control Zone, just everyone who makes the show go around, you know?
Absolutely, Brady. Well, congratulations on your third. We'll let you go and go enjoy it.
Alrighty, thank you.
That is Braden Bolus, as I've now learned that is how you properly pronounce his name. And we will move forward. Justin, any final thoughts before we get off the air here tonight at Iowa?
Interesting race. I always love seeing the action here at Iowa and racing at Iowa whenever it comes up on the official schedules. And it put on a great show with some great battling, especially in the mid-pack. And also with the caution flags, made things very interesting with the strategy, absolutely. And in turn, Blake Ray was able to take advantage of some of the caution flags and in turn get the track position he needed to take home this checker flag. You got to feel for drivers like Derek Justice, though, who are so dominant early on and was one of the fastest cars by up to a few tenths a lap in the long run, then got marred in that traffic. But overall, it's just what happens in racing. You never know when the cautions are going to fly.
That is certainly the case here. You never know when it can work for you or it can work against you. As Malik Ray takes home the checkered flag tonight in the first annual Ben Nielsen 100-mile race. Next week out, the Epic Gaming Network 100 will take us to the Daytona International Speedway road course for some left and right turns. 28 laps there. You won't want to miss it. And, of course, the Four Corners Racing League gets rolling right here on Monday night. So, for my broadcast partner, Justin Prince and Zach Johnson down in the virtual production trailer. My name is Blake McCandless saying so long and farewell and congratulations to tonight's winner, Malik Ray.